hard to say, but I'm still a victim of hate crime at the moment. I have been now for approximately the last 2.5 years. It pretty much started when I first founded the Unity Project, and I was actually getting out there that people were actually finding out that I was actually a gay man. And I started receiving notes slid underneath my door telling me they didn't want homos in the area. They wanted for me to take the dirty, stinking AIDS disease away from the area, that people were fearing for the safety of their children. Me being the kind of thick-skinned person that can take that, I just threw it in the bin, ripped them up, didn't take any notice of it, and just let it bounce off me. The turning factor was back last October when I received a letter, and it pretty much turned around and said that they'd noticed a steady increase of weird people visiting my home, and this was to stop immediately. The weird people that they were actually referring to were actually my friends and staff that were working for me within the Unity Project and also in Transgender in Wales. So it meant that such a diverse group of people were visiting me. There was lesbians, gays, bisexual and transgender folk calling. And it was a little bit alarming that somebody that was actually watching the people that were coming in and out of my home. And it was at that point then that I decided that I needed to report it to the police. I've got to say, the police came out, they took the letter. I did make the one big mistake of actually showing the letter to everybody, so when it came to fingerprints, there was approximately 30, 40 different types of fingerprints on there, and they just couldn't trace it. But they said, this must, we'll keep in touch, and we will try and find out who it is. I also informed my landlord, which was the Family Housing Association in Swansea. They were really upset with the fact that there was somebody in the area that were doing this. Back in January, the beginning of January, my mum died, and I then received a sympathy card stating, "We're very sorry about the loss of your mother. Don't you think this is time for you to move on?" Reported it to the police. This time I didn't show it to so many people, and only myself handled it, and it was sent away for fingerprints. The only problem with it being tested for fingerprints, the person has got to have a record anyway for it to come up on the system. So nothing really happened. But the police actually took it really seriously. They visited all my neighbours. They turned around and told that this was unacceptable. The Housing Association sent out letters informing them that this was a police matter, and people needed, if they had any information, to pass it on, and that if the culprit was found, they would lose their tenancy. They were quite strong letters, which I really do appreciate that they've done. And things went quiet for a while, and then 8 weeks ago, I found my cat dead on my front door. I rushed, I took it to the vet. Of course, the cat had actually died, so there's not a lot they could actually do. And it actually found that somebody had force-fed it with 26 paracetamol tablets. I then had a little note slipped to me then stating, "Sorry for the loss of your cat," smiley face. So obvious it wasn't just a random poisoning of a cat. It was actually aimed at me as part of the hate crime and the hate campaign that I've actually been going through. Even though I am quite a strong person, I can be very thick-skinned because I've been called names, I've been shouted at in the past. It does hit home sometimes when I'm just sitting there and I think, what is next? What else? How else can they actually get at me? They've tried with the letters, which didn't work. They then tried threatening my friends and my staff, which did have a response from me. Then it was the mentioning of my mum's death, which was pretty raw at the time. And then to top it all off, then, even though it's a cat, it was my cat. Since he was killed, I now sit at home and I talk to myself where I used to talk to the cat. So yeah, it does frighten me that there are so many people out there that are going through this kind of hate but haven't got the confidence to step forward and report it to the police, who do sit there and worry day after day after day of what's going to happen to them. And even though it has been upsetting for me, hopefully by me doing this, that I will give somebody the confidence to actually go and say, right, then I'm not standing for this, I will actually do something about it. Through the Unity Project and Transgender in Wales, we hear so many different types of hate crimes that are actually made towards people. And I've looked at mine and I've just been having, random letters. And sometimes I do think to myself, you've been a bit silly here. There are a lot of people out there who are actually suffering a lot worse than you. But like those other people, through my case, it's actually escalated. And where does it stop? I just wish that that person would realise what they've actually done to me and how they've actually made me feel. Psychologically, the hate, how it affects a lot of the people from the LGBT community. One example is Christmas time. We had a phone call from one young lad. He was living in a shared house with two other guys and a girl. It was early hours, Christmas Day, and one of the boys and the girl broke into his bedroom while he was asleep, beat him up in bed, dragged him out of his room, threw him out onto the street, locked him out in just his boxer shorts. I really would like to say that, if any of these people, anybody that's watching this recording now, who do think, it's just a joke, having, poking fun at somebody, calling them a name, or just being insensitive, there are a lot of repercussions. It may be funny for a couple of minutes, but these things do stick in people's minds. And if that person has already been going through some kind of ordeal, be it hate crime, it could be rejection from his family, it could be rejection from his friends. With that kind of attitude, it does really affect people. It's not only within the gay community, it's you've got the lesbians, the bis, and especially with the transgender community. It is just a big joke to a lot of people. A lot of people just think, oh, is a guy dressed as a woman? No, it's not. This is people's lives that people are actually laughing and joking at. Just because somebody is a little bit different to who they are doesn't make us a joke. And it does have effects on people. It does make people depressed. It does upset people. And it does have a big effect on somebody's life. With my experiences, is a lot of it is because people are not educated enough. I don't mean the mainstream education. I mean education outside of the school curriculum. regarding people's sexuality, people's gender identity, people's race, people's colour, people's religion. There is no reason to hate. When somebody's born, they're not born with hate in them. Hate comes along later on. It's either through what they're actually picking up from parents or friends. It is something that's learnt. And for us, I think, for us to tackle it, I do think that we need to educate the people as well. If they're learning how to hate, right, we need to teach them not to hate as well.